Greetings everyone, my name is Gigi and this is Let's Build, wherein I build a LEGO set timed to different media and talk about the facts concerning the topic of the build. Today's build is the LEGO Jade Rabbit versus the PlayStation 2 game Okami. The footage I am using from this game is for science, educational, and research purposes. My content is transformative and protected under fair use. All footage is time-lapse with commentary. I apologize in advance for pronouncing names and/or places incorrectly. Specifications for the LEGO set. Celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival with this highly detailed LEGO Jade Rabbit model. The Jade Rabbit is one of the festival's most beloved mascots and is depicted sitting on a snow-skin mooncake, creating divine medicine. Eating mooncake is one of the traditions of the festival, and this model opens to reveal egg yolk and two smaller rabbits inside. With a bright yellow moon and clouds in the background, LEGO Jade Rabbit makes it a fun display piece. Build a fun festival model. Celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival with this detailed LEGO Jade Rabbit model featuring a rabbit, mooncake, and a bright yellow moon. A festival gift. This model can be given as a gift to kids aged 8 and up and anyone who loves to celebrate this Chinese festival. Measurements. The model measures over 5.5 inches high, 5 inches long, and 5 inches deep. There is no additional information in the instruction booklet, so I will simply move on to the Mid-Autumn Festival, which is a harvest festival celebrated in Chinese culture. It is held on the 15th day of the 8th moon of the Chinese lunisolar calendar with a full moon at night, corresponding to mid-September to early October in the Gregorian calendar. On this day, the Chinese believe that the moon is at its brightest and fullest size, coinciding with the harvest time in the middle of autumn. The Mid-Autumn Festival is one of the most important holidays in Chinese culture. Its popularity is on par with that of Chinese New Year. The history of the festival dates back over 3,000 years. Similar festivals are celebrated by other cultures in the East and Southeast Asia. During the festival, lanterns of all sizes and shapes, which symbolize beacons that light people's paths to prosperity and good fortune, are carried and displayed. Mooncakes, a rich pastry typically filled with sweet bean, egg yolk, meat, or lotus seed paste, are traditionally eaten during this festival. The Mid-Autumn Festival is based on the legend of Chang'e, the moon goddess of Chinese mythology. The festival is so named as it is held around the autumn equinox, on the 15th day of the 8th lunisolar month of the Chinese calendar. Its name varies among Sinitic languages, with most common one being Mid-Autumn Festival or simply Mid-Autumn, as well as its traditional calendar date, either 15th of 8th month or half of the 8th month, which is more regional. Other regional names include 8th Month Festival, Festival of Unity, and Mooncake Festival. Outside of China, there are several other names for the festival. Autumn Eve is the Korean name for the festival. Moon viewing is the Japanese variant. The Moon Festival or Harvest Moon Festival because of the celebration's association with the full moon on this night, as well as traditions of moon worship and moon viewing. The Children's Festival is in Vietnam. Most festival songs are sung by the children here. The Lantern Festival, a term sometimes used in Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia, which is not to be confused with the Lantern Festival in China that occurs on the 15th day of the first month of the Chinese calendar. However, Mid-Autumn Festival is more widely used by locals when referring to the festival in English. The Water and Moon Festival in Cambodian. This festival is held each year in November for 3 days. Meanings: the festival celebrates three fundamental concepts that are closely connected. Gathering, such as family and friends coming together or harvesting crops for the festival. It is said that the moon is the brightest and roundest on this day, which means family reunion. Consequently, this is the main reason why the festival is thought to be important. Giving thanks, to give thanks for the harvest, or for harmonious unions through activities like giving mooncakes to each other. Praying, praying for things such as babies, a spouse, beauty, longevity, or good fortune. Traditions and myths surrounding the festival are formed around these concepts, although traditions have changed over time due to the changes in technology, science, economy, culture, and religion. Origins and development. The Chinese have celebrated the harvest during the autumn full moon since the Shang dynasty. The term mid-autumn first appeared in the Rites of Zhao, a written collection of rituals of the Western Zhao dynasty. The celebration as a festival only started to gain popularity during the early Tang dynasty. One legend explains that Emperor Zhang of Tang started to hold formal celebrations in his palace after having explored the Moon Palace. By the Ming and Jing dynasties, the Mid-Autumn Festival had become one of the main folk festivals of China. Empress Dowager Cixi enjoyed celebrating Mid-Autumn Festival so much that she would spend the period between the 13th and 17th day of each 8th month staging elaborate rituals. Moon worship. An important part of the festival celebration is moon worship. The ancient Chinese believed in rejuvenation being associated with the moon and water, and connected this concept to menstruation, calling it monthly water. The Zhang people, for example, have an ancient fable saying the sun and moon are a couple and the stars are their children, and when the moon is pregnant, it becomes round, and then becomes a crescent after giving birth. These beliefs made it popular among women to worship and give offerings to the moon on this evening. In some areas of China, there are still customs in which the men do not worship the moon and the women do not offer sacrifices to the kitchen gods. In China, the Mid-Autumn Festival symbolizes the family reunion, and on this day, all families will appreciate the moon in the evening because it is the 15th day of the 8th month of the Chinese lunisolar calendar, when the moon is at its fullest. Offerings are also made to a more well-known lunar deity, Chang'e, known as the moon goddess of immortality. The myths associated with Chang'e explain the origin of the moon worship during this day. One version of the story, stated in the Handbook of Chinese Mythology, in the ancient past there was a hero named Hou Yi who was excellent at archery. His wife was Shang-Yi. One year, the 10 suns rose in the sky together, causing great disaster to the people. Yi shot down 9 of the suns and left only one to provide the light. An immortal admired Yi and sent him the elixir of immortality. Yi did not want to leave Shang-Yi and be immortal without her, so he let Shang-Yi keep the elixir. However, Peng Meng, one of his apprentices, knew this secret. So on the 15th of August in the Chinese lunisolar calendar, when Yi went hunting, Peng Meng broke into Yi's house and forced Shang-Yi to give the elixir to him. Shang-Yi refused to do so. Instead, she swallowed it and flew into the sky. Since she loved her husband and hoped to live nearby, she chose the moon for her residence. When Yi came back and learned what had happened, he felt so sad that he displayed the fruits and cakes Chang-Yi liked in the yard and gave sacrifices to his wife. People soon learned about these activities, And sympathetic to Chang'e, they also participated in these sacrifices with Yi celebration. The festival was a time to enjoy the successful reaping of rice and wheat with food offerings made in honor of the moon. Today, it is still an occasion for outdoor reunions among friends and relatives to eat mooncakes and watch the moon, a symbol of harmony and unity. During a year of a solar eclipse, it is typical for governmental offices, banks, and schools to close extra days in order to enjoy the extended celestial celebration an eclipse brings. The festival is celebrated with many cultural or regional customs. Among them would be burning incense in reverence to deities including Chang'e, performance of dragon and lion dances, which is mainly practiced in southern China. Lanterns. A notable part of celebrating the holiday is carrying of brightly lit lanterns, lighting lanterns on towers or floating sky lanterns. Another tradition involving lanterns is to write riddles on them and have other people try and guess the answers. It is difficult to discern the original purpose of the lanterns in connection to the festival, but it is certain that lanterns were not used in conjunction with moon worship prior to the Tang dynasty. Traditionally, the lantern has been used to symbolize fertility and functioned mainly as a toy and decoration. But today, the lantern has come to symbolize the festival itself. In the old days, lanterns were made in the image of natural things, myths, and local cultures. Over time, a greater variety of lanterns could be found as local cultures became influenced by their neighbors. As China gradually evolved from an agrarian society to a mixed agrarian commercial one, traditions from other festivals began to be transmitted into the Mid-Autumn Festival, such as the putting of lanterns on rivers to guide the spirits of the drowned as practiced during the Ghost Festival, which is observed a month before. Hong Kong fishermen during the Qing dynasty, for example, would put up lanterns on their boats for the Ghost Festival and keep the lanterns up until Mid-Autumn Festival. Mooncakes. Making and sharing mooncakes is one of the hallmark traditions of this festival. In Chinese culture, a round shape symbolizes completeness and reunion. Thus, the sharing and eating of round mooncakes among family members during the week of the festival signifies the completeness and unity of families. In some areas of China, there is a tradition of making mooncakes during the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival. The senior person in that household would cut the mooncakes into pieces and distribute them to each family member, signifying the family reunion. In modern times, however, making mooncakes at home has given way to the more popular custom of giving mooncakes to family members, although the meaning of maintaining familial unity still remains. Although typical mooncakes can be around a few centimeters in diameter, imperial chefs have made some as large as 8 meters in diameter, with its surface pressed with the designs of Chang'e, cassia trees, or the Moon Palace. One tradition is to pile 13 mooncakes on top of each other to mimic a pagoda, the number 13 being chosen to represent the 13 months in a full Chinese lunisolar year. The spectacle of making very large mooncakes continues in modern China. According to Chinese folklore, a Turpan businessman offered cakes to Emperor Taizong of Tang in his victory against Xiongnu on the 15th day of the 8th Chinese lunisolar month. Taizong took the round cakes and pointed to the moon with a smile, saying, "I'd like to invite the toad to enjoy the Hu cake." After sharing cakes with his ministers, the custom of eating these Hu cakes spread throughout the country. Eventually, these became known as mooncakes. Although the legend explains the beginnings of mooncake giving, its popularity and ties to the festival began during the Song dynasty. games and activities. During the 1920s and 30s, ethnographer Zhao Wei-peng conducted research on traditional games among men, women, and children on or around the Mid-Autumn Day in Guangdong Province. These games relate to flights of the soul, spirit possession, or fortune-telling. The moon rabbit, moon hare, or jade rabbit is a mythical figure in both East Asia and indigenous American folklore, based on interpretations that identify the dark markings on the near side of the moon as a rabbit or a hare. In East Asian mythology, the rabbit is seen as pounding with a mortar and pestle, but the contents of the mortar differ among Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Vietnamese folklore. In Chinese folklore, the rabbit, Yutu, is often portrayed as a companion of the moon goddess Chang'e, constantly pounding the elixir of life for her, and some show the makings of cakes or rice cakes. But in Japanese and Korean versions, the rabbit is pounding the ingredients for mochi, or some other type of rice cake. In Vietnamese version, the moon rabbit also appears pounding the elixir of immortality in the mortar. In some Chinese versions, the rabbit pounds medicine for the mortals, and some include making of mooncakes. Moon folklore from certain Amerindian cultures of North America has the rabbit themes and characters. History. An early Chinese source called Chu Shi, a Western Han anthology of Chinese poems from the Warring States period, notes that along with a toad, there is a hare on the moon who constantly pounds herbs for the immortals. This notion is supported by later texts, including the Song era Taiping Imperial Reader. As rabbits were not yet introduced into China during Western Han, the original image was not a rabbit but a hare. Han Dynasty poets called the hare on the moon the jade hare, or gold hare, and these phrases were often used in place of the word for the moon. The famed Tang poet Li Bai relates how the rabbit on the moon pounds the medicine in vain in his poem The Old Dust. East Asian folklore. In Buddhist Jataka tales, Tale 316 relates that a monkey, an otter, a jackal, and a rabbit resolved to practice charity on the day of the full moon, believing a demonstration of great virtue would earn a great reward. When an old man begged for food from them, the monkey gathered fruits from the trees, and the otter collected fish, while the jackal found a lizard and a pot of milk curd. Knowing only how to gather grass, the rabbit instead offered its own body by throwing itself into the fire the man had prepared. However, the rabbit was not burnt, and the old man revealed that he was Sakra. Touched by the rabbit's virtue, he drew the likeness of the rabbit on the moon for all to see. It is said that the lunar image is still draped in the smoke that rose when the rabbit cast itself into the fire. The rabbit is believed to be a bodhisattva. A version of this story may be found in Japanese anthology, where the rabbit's companions are instead a fox and a monkey. The moon rabbit legend is popular and part of local folklore throughout Asia. It may be found in diverse cultures in China, Japan, India, Korea, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Myanmar. This legend also gave rise to the Mid-Autumn festivals of China, Vietnam, Japan, Korea, Cambodia, all of which celebrate the legend of the moon rabbit. In Vietnamese mythology, the jade rabbit on the moon is often accompanied by the moon lady and the man in the moon, who sits under a magical banyan. The trio became the personifications of the holiday when they descend to the mortal world and give out cellophane lanterns, mooncakes, and gifts to children. In Journey to the West, when Tangzhan Shang passes through India on his journey, A demoness wants to marry him so that she can absorb his yang essence and increase her powers. Sun Wukong sees through her disguise and fights with her. Just as Sun Wukong is about to defeat the demoness, accompanied by the fairy Shang-Yi, Taiyin Jingzheng descends on a colored cloud. The Monkey King hastily puts away his iron rod, saying, "Old Taiyin, where are you going? I, Sun Wukong, have been avoiding you." Taiyin replies, "The demon you are facing is the Jade Rabbit, who guards the mystical frost elixir in my Guanghong Palace. She secretly unlocked the Jade Gate and escaped from the palace, and it has been a year since then. I foresee that she is currently in grave danger, so I have come to save her. I hope the great sage will spare her for my sake." Sun Wukong reluctantly agrees, and Taiyin Jingzheng takes the Jade Rabbit to the moon and assigns her duties. Okami. Okami is a 2006 action-adventure game developed by Clover Studio and published by Capcom. It was released for PlayStation 2 in 2006 in Japan and North America, and in 2007 in Europe and Australia. After the closure of Clover Studios after a few months of the release, a port for the Wii was developed by Ready at Dawn, TOS, and Capcom, and released in 2008. Set in a fictional version of classical Japan, Okami combines Japanese mythology and folklore to tell the story of how the land was saved from darkness by the Shinto sun goddess Amaterasu, who took the form of a white wolf. It features a Sumi-inspired, cel-shaded visual style, and the celestial brush, a gesture system to perform miracles. The game was planned to use more traditional realistic rendering, but this had put a strain on the graphics processing of the PlayStation 2. Clover Studio switched to a cel-shaded style to reduce the processing, which led to the celestial brush concept. The gameplay is modeled on Legend of Zelda, one of director Hideki Kamiya's favorite series. The game's name is a pun, as Okami can mean either great god or wolf in Japanese. Okami was one of the last PlayStation 2 games released prior to the release of the PlayStation 3. It was not commercially successful, leading to the closure of Clover Studio following the departure of Kamiya and other leads on the game. Although it suffered from poor sales, the game received universal acclaim, earning IGN's 2006 Game of the Year. The Wii version earned similar praise, though the motion control scheme received mixed reviews. A high-definition port, remastered by Capcom and Hexadrive, was released on the PlayStation 3 via PlayStation Network in October 2012, and for retail in Japan in November, supporting the use of the PlayStation Move controller. The port was re-released for PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One in December of 2017 worldwide, for the Nintendo Switch, August 2018, and for Amazon Luna, April 2022. Mainstream adoption of the game had improved with the release of these remasters, and Okami is considered to be one of the greatest video games of all time, as well as an example of video games as an art form, aided by the improved art details and graphics resolutions. A spiritual successor on the Nintendo DS, Okami Den, was released in Japan in September 2010, followed by North America and Europe in March 2011. A sequel was announced at the Game Awards in 2024, with Kamiya returning as director within a new studio, Clover's, in partnership with Capcom. Gameplay. The player controls the main character, Amaterasu, in a woodcut, watercolor-style, cel-shaded environment, which looks like an animated Japanese ink illustration known as ink wash painting or sumi-e, along with other styles of art. The gameplay style is a mix of action, platform, and puzzle gaming genres, and has been noted by many reviewers to have numerous similarities in overall gameplay style to the Legend of Zelda series, an inspiration that director Hideki Kamiya, a self-proclaimed Zelda fan, has admitted has influenced his general game design. The main story is primarily linear, directed by Amaterasu's guide Isun, though numerous side quests and optional activities allow for players to explore the game's open world and take the story at their own pace. By completing quests, side quests, and small additional activities, Amaterasu earns praise, which can be spent to increase various statistics of the characters, such as the amount of health and number of inkwells for celestial brush techniques. Combat is staged in a ghostly virtual arena, and Amaterasu can fight enemies using a combination of weapons, fighting techniques, and brush methods to dispatch the foes. At the end of combat, money, as yen, is rewarded to Amaterasu, with bonuses for completing a battle quickly and without taking damage. The money can be spent at merchants and dojos across the land, featuring healing goods, better weapons, tools, key items for completing quests, and combat techniques. Rare demon fangs can be earned through combat, which can be traded for unique items that are beneficial in gameplay but not required to complete the game. Weapons inspired by the imperial regalia of Japan can be equipped on Amaterasu as either main or sub-weapons, and used in addition to other melee attacks that the player can have Amaterasu learn through the course of the game. The Celestial Brush. A game mechanic unique to Okami is the Celestial Brush. Players can bring the game to a pause and call up a canvas, where the player can draw on the screen, either using the left analog stick on the DualShock controller, or pointing with the Wii Remote, Joy-Con, touchscreen, or PlayStation Move controller in subsequent ports. This feature is used in combat, puzzles, and as general gameplay. For example, the player can create strong wind by drawing a loop, cut enemies by drawing a line through them, or fix bridges by painting on the broken one. These techniques are learned through the course of the game by completing constellations to release the celestial brush god from their hiding places. It is possible to upgrade or modify certain brush powers later in the game. For example, the celestial brush power Inferno can gain new power called Fireburst, which has a different drawing pattern and allows players to create flames without relying on torches or other related items. The player's ink for drawing is limited by the amount available in special ink wells, preventing the player from solely using brush techniques to defeat enemies. The ink is stored in the wells over time when the ink brush is not used. Plot. The player controls Okami Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun, in the form of a white wolf. Amaterasu is referred to in the Japanese and European version of the game as a female, while in the North American version she is genderless, although she is also referred to as the mother of all. When endowed with ink power, Amaterasu is seen by the player with red markings, cloud-like fur on her shoulders, and weapons on her back. Most of the human characters in the game only see her as a plain white wolf. Some believe Amaterasu to be the reincarnation of Shiranui, the white wolf that fought Orochi 100 years prior to the game's present, and do not recognize her spiritual nature. If the player depletes power by overuse of the celestial brush, Amaterasu will temporarily revert to this mundane white form. Isun, an arrogant, inch-tall, wandering artist, seeking out the 13 celestial brush techniques for himself, accompanies Amaterasu, whom he calls Amy or Furball. He serves as a guide, dialogue proxy, and as comic relief. He grows in character along with Ami throughout the game, becoming her true friend inspiration, and eventually her savior. Throughout the game, the player encounters several other characters that are inspired from Japanese folklore. Story. The game is set in Nippon, or Japan, and it is based on Japanese folklore beginning 100 years in the past. A narrator describes how the white wolf Shiranui and swordsman Nagi fought and sealed the eight-headed demon Arachi in a cave to save the Kamiki village and Nagi's beloved maiden Nami. In the game's present, Nagi's descendant and self-proclaimed greatest warrior, Susanoo, refuses to believe in Nagi's legend and frees Arachi, I think that's supposed to be pronounced Orochi, who escapes and curses the lands, sapping the life from Nippon. Sakuya, the wood sprite and guardian of Kamiki village, summons the long-dormant Amaterasu in a form of the reincarnated Shiranui and asks her to remove the curse that covers the land. Accompanied by the artist Isun, Amaterasu begins to restore the lands to a normal state. Throughout their journey, Amaterasu and Isun encounter Waka, a handsome and strange but powerful individual who seems to have the gift of foresight, and further teases them to his own mysterious ends. Additionally, Amaterasu locates several celestial gods hidden in constellations who bestow upon her their powers of the celestial brush to aid in her quest. After regaining some of her power and reviving the land, Amaterasu and a changed Susanoo defeat Orochi and save Kushi. Orochi's spirit floats northward, leading Amaterasu and Isun to embark on a journey across Nippon to follow it. They first arrive at Royashima Coast and Saiyan City, the capital of Nippon. There, they work with the beautiful priestess Rao, the legendary submarine dragon kingdom, and the reclusive Queen Himiko to ride the coastline and the city of Orochi's remaining influence, which includes stopping a demonic plague and retrieving a mystical weapon from a sunken trading ship. However, it is revealed that the real Rao was killed before Amaterasu arrived, and the Rao they had been accompanied was a demonic fox god Ninetales, who kills Himiko and returns to her fortress on the elusive Oni Island. Amaterasu and Isun defeat Ninetales, noticing that her spirit, like Orochi's, travels to the icy northern island of Kamui. The two decide to travel northward to find the source of the demons. In Kamui, Amaterasu assists the Onia tribe to defeat two recently revived demons, Lechku and Nechku, who are creating a deadly blizzard that threaten to destroy the island. In addition to this, Amaterasu discovers that Isun ran away from his home of Hongtan to escape his responsibility of being a celestial envoy, a messenger of the gods, and his grandfather. Additionally, the duo learn that Shiranui was in fact Amaterasu in previous incarnation, who sacrificed herself to kill Orochi with the help of Isun's grandfather. After defeating Lechku and Nechku, Amaterasu discovers the wreckage of a flying ship made of iron, the Ark of Yamato, trapped in the frozen plains of Kamui. Waka appears and reveals himself to be a member of the Moon Tribe, a long-living race who used the Ark to sail the stars. They helped the Celestials, minor and major gods, escape from the celestial plane after Orochi invaded. But the demons snuck into the Ark beforehand, allowing them to kill the rest of the Celestials before the Ark fell to Earth, releasing the demons upon the mortal world. Amaterasu boards the Ark alone, defeating the spirits of the felled demons on board. Amaterasu finds Waka in battle with Yami, the machine-esque leader of the demons who led the genocide of the gods ages ago. Waka is knocked unconscious and Amaterasu takes his place. After a long battle, Yami drains her power and nearly destroys the celestial gods. Before it can do so, Isun accepts his role as a celestial envoy and encourages all those they have helped to send their thoughts and prayers to Amaterasu, who regains her powers and defeats Yami, ridding Nippon of all demons. Amaterasu and Waka take control on the Ark and sail back to the celestial plane, determined to rebuild the land of the gods. I wanted to replay Okami because I remembered there was a Moon Rabbit character, and I really liked the style of the game. We don't get far enough in the game to meet them, as I had forgotten that it takes nearly 25 minutes before we get control of Amaterasu. Yumigami is the celestial brush god of the moon. She can be seen as a rabbit with a mochi-pounding mallet, and her constellation is located in the Agata forest after saving Ume from Whopper. Total build time today, 48 minutes, 26 seconds, which means you could watch about 2 episodes of Sailor Moon. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Remember to like, subscribe, share, ring that bell, all the things for the YouTubes. Thank you.